guilty of the crime of murder.
Joran van der Sloot was born on August 6, 1987, in Arnhem, Netherlands. His father, Paulus, was a lawyer, and his mother, Anita, was an art teacher. When Joran was 3, his family moved to Aruba, where he grew up with his 2 younger brothers. He stood out as an honor student at the International School of Aruba and excelled in sports like soccer and tennis. However, Anita, Joran's mother, noticed some concerning behaviors in him. He had a tendency to lie and was drawn to the nightlife with his friends. This behavior worried his family as they feared he might get into trouble at a young age. Joran wasn't just drinking, he was also frequently seen at casinos. One evening in May, Joran met a young woman named Natalie Holloway from Memphis, Tennessee, during a night out in Aruba. Born in October 1986, Natalie was the eldest child of Dave and Beth Holloway. After her parents' divorce in 1993, she and her brother were raised by their mother, who later remarried. Her stepfather, George Twitty, was a prominent businessman, and the family relocated to Alabama. In May 2005, Natalie graduated from high school with honors and planned to pursue a career in medicine in college. She went on a graduation trip to Aruba on May 25th with 124 classmates. Throughout the week, they celebrated their graduation and explored the island's nightlife. On May 29th, Joran saw Natalie and her friends in Nord and approached them to join the festivities. Later that night, Joran and Natalie met at a downtown bar where they enjoyed drinks and dancing. This turned out to be one of Natalie's final sightings before she left the bar with Joran and 2 others, Deepak Kalpo, 21, and his 18-year-old brother, Satish Kalpo. Natalie was supposed to catch a flight the next day, but when her friends gathered at the airport, she was nowhere to be found. Her belongings, including her passport and luggage, were discovered in her room at the Holiday Inn. Concerned, her friends reported her disappearance to the authorities. Aruban officials promptly initiated a search, scouring the waters around the island, but unfortunately no signs of Natalie were found. After learning that their daughter had missed her flight, Natalie's parents flew to Aruba on a private jet to launch their independent investigation. The main investigator revealed that Natalie and her group of students had been hosting wild parties in Aruba, consuming excessive amounts of alcohol and frequently changing rooms. The investigation brought to light that Natalie drank alcohol daily and used drugs. Furthermore, it was noted that Natalie missed breakfast on 2 consecutive mornings. These specific details were shared with her family, shedding light on Natalie's lifestyle and risky behaviors in her final days. The hotel manager at their lodging provided the authorities with Joran van der Sloot's name and address. 2 Aruban officers then proceeded to Joran's residence. Joran confessed to meeting Natalie that night, accompanying the Kalpo brothers to the California lighthouse and dropping her off at her hotel around 2 a.m. He recalled observing Natalie stumble as she exited the car and offering to escort her to her room, which she declined. As they drove off, they noticed a man in a black shirt approaching Natalie, assuming he was a friend. Following this account, Joran and the Kalpo brothers were brought in for questioning by the police. Unexpectedly, later that evening, arrests were made. Initially, it was not Joran or the Kalpo brothers who were apprehended, but former security guards from a nearby hotel. These guards were known to frequent hotels attempting to meet women and had previous encounters with law enforcement. They were detained for 8 days but were later released due to insufficient evidence. On June 9th, the authorities arrested Joran and the Kalpo brothers on charges of kidnapping and murdering Natalie Holloway. However, due to the lack of evidence of an abduction or a body, they were released a month later on account of insufficient evidence. In the 3 months that followed the incident, a total of 7 individuals were arrested and subsequently released, including Joran's father. According to the lead investigator, these premature arrests were carried out under pressure from the Holloway family, suggesting interference in the investigation by the family. During press interviews, Joran shared his version of events. The most notable interview took place in March, during which Joran claimed that Natalie had expressed a desire to have sex with him, but he declined as he did not have a condom. He also mentioned that Natalie had proposed staying on the beach that night, a suggestion refused by the group, who then dropped her off at the hotel before heading home. 2.5 years after Natalie's disappearance, detectives reopened the case, citing new evidence. Joran van der Sloot, Deepak Kalpoe, and Satish Kalpoe were arrested on suspicion of causing serious bodily harm and manslaughter resulting in Natalie Holloway's death. On November 30th, a judge ordered the release of the Kalpoe brothers. 2 weeks later, Joran was also released. Then on March 29, 2010, a bizarre twist occurred when Joran contacted Natalie's family lawyers, claiming he knew the location of Natalie Holloway's body and the circumstances surrounding her death. However, he demanded $250,000 in exchange for this information. The lawyer reported this unusual offer to the FBI, and together they devised a plan. Initially, $10,000 in cash was handed over, followed by a $15,000 wire transfer to Joran's bank account. However, the authorities found the information provided to be false, as the location he specified had not been constructed at the time of Natalie's disappearance. By 2012, Natalie was legally declared dead. Her disappearance remained unresolved, and if deceased, her body was never found. 5 years after Natalie vanished, another girl would go missing, this time in Peru. Stephanie Flores, a 21-year-old business student at Lima University and the daughter of businessman Ricardo Flores, had a bright future ahead of her. On May 14, 2010, Joran van der Sloot decided to participate in a Latin American poker tournament and entered Peru via Colombia. Ironically, the tournament date coincided with the 5th anniversary of Natalie's disappearance. On May 30th, he met Stephanie at the Atlantic City Casino. According to Joran's mother, Anita, her son was supposed to be receiving mental health treatment in the Netherlands, but instead went to Peru to gamble. He met Stephanie while playing cards and invited her to his hotel room. They entered room 309, and these moments were captured by security cameras. In early June, Flores' family noticed she was missing and reported it to the police. The hotel staff was questioned and mentioned seeing Joran and Stephanie together. Upon reviewing the security footage from the night of the incident, they observed the two entering the room, but only Joran was seen leaving. Stephanie's bruised body was found in room 309. Stephanie's father mentioned that jewelry, credit cards, and over $10,000 were missing from her car. A tennis racket discovered in the room was identified as the murder weapon. Authorities quickly located Joran in Chile, and he was arrested. Initially, he professed his innocence, but 4 days later, he admitted to killing the young woman. In his statement to the Peruvian police, he recounted playing poker with Stephanie in his room. When she saw something about the Natalie case on his computer, it angered him. He hit her face with his elbow, grabbed her throat, smashed her head against the wall, and then strangled her. Joran later retracted his confession, stating he spoke out of fear and confusion, alleging that Peruvian authorities had deceived him by promising leniency and extradition to the Netherlands if he told them what they wanted to hear. Eventually, he reverted to his initial confession, acknowledging the murder of Stephanie exactly as he first described. Joran's mother, Anita, insisted that her son had no involvement in Natalie's disappearance, maintaining he hadn't seen her after dropping her off at the beach. In January 2012, Joran van der Sloot was convicted of Stephanie Flores' murder and received a 28-year prison sentence. After serving 11 years in prison, he was extradited from Peru to the United States on June 8, 2023. The following day, June 9th, he faced trial in a federal court for extortion and wire fraud against Natalie Holloway's mother, Beth Holloway. October 18, 2023, was a significant date for the Holloway family. In a plea agreement, Joran confessed to killing Natalie. That evening, he made sexual advances towards her and, upon rejection, kicked and struck her with a cinder block before disposing of her body in the ocean. Before we dive into our next story, if you could take a moment to hit that like button, it would mean the world to us. A single click for you is a huge boost of encouragement for us. Jade Janks was born on October 14, 1983 in Texas, USA. Her parents, Jenny and Steve, made the tough decision to divorce when Jade was 10 years old. 2 years later, Jenny remarried to Tom Merriman, a 39-year-old man who became Jade's stepfather. Initially, Jade and Tom had a distant relationship, but over time, they developed a close bond, and Jade started to see Tom as a father figure. After 2 years of marriage, Jenny and Tom welcomed their son, Cash. Despite having different biological fathers, Jade and Cash always got along well. Unfortunately, Jenny and Tom's relationship faced challenges, leading Tom to file for divorce, citing physical abuse and verbal harassment. Despite this, Jade maintained a strong connection with Tom even after the divorce. Following high school, Jade pursued her passion for architectural design at a private college. With determination, she entered the design industry, eventually establishing her successful interior design company. Over the years, Tom battled alcohol and substance abuse, particularly during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. In an effort to support him, Jade decided to move into the house next to Tom's to assist him through his struggles. On December 15, 2020, the 64-year-old Tom suffered a severe fall at home, leading to his hospitalization at Scripps Hospital in Encinitas. After 2 weeks of treatment for alcohol withdrawal, he was transferred to a rehabilitation center. While Tom was in the hospital, 37-year-old Jade took on the responsibility of cleaning and managing his home. On December 23rd, as she was cleaning, she noticed the computer screen wake up from sleep mode, revealing a wallpaper of a woman's breasts. Upon closer inspection, Jade was horrified to recognize a birthmark. She was staring at a photo of her own breasts. Jade logged into the computer and soon discovered hundreds of nude photos of herself. Most of these photos were taken when she was under 18. They had originally been taken while she was with an ex-boyfriend, but she had never shared them with anyone. Jade couldn't comprehend how Tom had accessed these photos. Having viewed Tom as a father figure since she was 14, Jade felt deeply betrayed by what she had found. Distraught, Jade messaged a friend, confiding in her about the shocking discovery and expressing her distress. She mentioned that she felt so violated she could no longer shower alone, as many of the photos showed her in the shower. A week after Jade's shocking discovery, on New Year's Day, the San Diego County Sheriff's Department received a phone call from a man named Adam Sipliak. He claimed that his friend and ex-girlfriend, Jade Janks, might have killed her stepfather. He alleged that Jade had invited him over the night before, confessed to killing her stepfather, and asked for his help in moving the body. Adam stated that he had no idea what was really happening and had not seen Tom or the body. Frightened, he had quickly left the house. Following this call, the police contacted Tom's friends and family, but no one had seen him. Tom had last been seen on New Year's Eve by neighbors, who saw him getting out of a car with a walker. On January 1, 2021, police arrived at Tom's house for a welfare check and noticed Jade leaving. They asked her to come to the station for a statement, which she willingly agreed to. Jade told the police that she had picked Tom up from the rehabilitation center, but did not know his current whereabouts. She then requested a lawyer and refused to say anything further. The police allowed Jade to go home, but obtained a search warrant for the properties and returned hours later. Despite an exhaustive search, they found no trace of Tom. They spent hours combing through the house, their efforts hampered by the night. Around 7 a.m., an officer walking from Tom's house to the garage noticed a pile of trash in a wheelbarrow. Upon closer inspection, he discovered Tom's body wrapped in a blanket and covered with garbage. He was still wearing the hospital wristband, t-shirt, and pajamas he had on the day he was discharged. Jade was immediately arrested and charged with her stepfather's murder. Even though Jade professed her innocence, the evidence painted a different picture, prompting the police to investigate her phone. The text messages uncovered a detailed timeline of the murder's planning and execution. Compounding matters, Jade was not acting alone. When Jade stumbled upon the nude photos, she sought support from a security guard named Alan Roach. The trial of Jade Janks kicked off on December 21, 2022, nearly 2 years after Tom's passing. Despite maintaining her innocence, Jade contended that she was not involved in the murder, attributing Tom's demise to his declining health and prescription drug use. According to Jade, her intention was to have a confrontation with Tom once she brought him back from rehab and had reached out to Alan for moral support. On December 31st, despite her emotional state, Jade embarked on a mission to aid Tom. She fetched him from rehab a little after 11 a.m., carrying a substantial bag of medications, including the sleep aid Ambien. Jade urged Tom to take his prescribed meds. Later, she made a stop at a shopping center and texted Alan, providing him with her home address for their meeting. With no response from Alan, Jade opted to take Tom home unaccompanied. Upon arrival, Tom was too feeble to walk. Unsure how to proceed, Jade contemplated returning him to the rehab facility, which declined re-entry due to strict COVID protocols. In the interim, Alan messaged Jade that he couldn't make it over, but would send his friend, Brian Salomon, to assist. Despite having never met Brian, Jade turned down his help upon his arrival, causing Brian to depart. Subsequently, she contacted her friend Adam for assistance in getting Tom indoors. Adam declined and exited the premises, mirroring Brian's actions. Adam's statement to the authorities matched Jade's version of events. Tom never exited the car as he was too incapacitated to move. Jade left him there to sleep, providing a blanket and a pillow. When she checked on him on New Year's Day, she noticed how cold his body was and realized he had passed away. Panicked, Jade wrapped him in a blanket and arranged items around him to make it appear like a pile of debris. When questioned about not calling 911, she mentioned her fear of being held responsible for his death. However, the jury did not believe her account. Adam informed the police that Jade had drugged Tom before strangling him to death. In Jade's car, a plastic bag was discovered, believed to have been used to suffocate Tom, with his DNA on it. There was a theory that Tom had been manually strangled. Nevertheless, the autopsy showed no signs of strangulation, leading to the conclusion that Tom had died from acute zolpidem intoxication. During the court proceedings, Jade mentioned the nude photos found on her stepfather's computer, claiming they were collected without her knowledge when she was 16. She stated that this inappropriate behavior caused her emotional distress as she saw Tom as a father figure. However, her attorneys did not use this as part of her defense. None of the individuals named Adam Sipliak, Brian Salomon, or Alan Roach faced charges in this case. Jade was the only one accused. The defense argued that Adam's confession about Jade was fabricated, lacked credibility, and was based solely on speculation. After 2 days of jury deliberation, Jade Janks was found guilty of first-degree murder in Tom Merriman's death.
Guilty of the crime of murder.
She was sentenced to 25 years in prison and will be eligible for parole at 64. Jade maintains her innocence of murder, claiming Tom died from an overdose, but admitting guilt for concealing his body. Before we conclude this video, please be aware that the video on the left may be disturbing. It is recommended for adult viewing only. On the right, you'll find a playlist of videos that have been highly appreciated by our viewers.